During 1500 BC, the Maya civilization spread over Belize, and during the early years of the 16th century, the first Europeans arrived in this area because of a shipwrecked English seaman. Over the next 150 years, more and more English settled. During these years, the Spanish also tried to colonize in these New World colonies, but the English were against it. During the 17th century, the Dutch, English and French encroached on Spain's New World possessions, and in 1724 the first African slaves were brought to Belize by the English. The language Belizean Creole is a language that is historically spoken by the Creoles. The language is spoken in the US and Nicaragua, but mainly in Belize itself. The English-based language is also known as Creole by its speakers. The Creoles are people of mainly African and British ancestry because of the history of the country.
Belize is a melting pot of several cultures and therefore has some specific festivals, including Garifuna on November the 19th is mostly celebrated in the south and is a festival of the Garifuna, or the Black Caribs, to celebrate their first arrival in 1832. On September the 21st, the independence of Belize is celebrated to remind the people of the day when they became independent from Britain in 1981.
They celebrate Christmas, but they have their own traditions with it. For example, the Garifuna dance, the Cherry Canary, a masquerade also symbolizing the relation between hunter and deer. Baron Bliss Day, March 9, is a national festival honoring a British resident who died while on vacation in Belize and donated his fortune to the construction of local libraries, schools and other institutions. St. George's Caye Day, on September 10, recalls the sea battle in 1798 off the coast of Belize between Great Britain and Spain.
The cuisine of Belize includes some typical dishes like hudud, which came from the Garifuna people, ceviche, mostly eaten in coastal regions, and teles gipnut, which is roasted pig.
The English language was the basis of Belizean Creole imported from England who settled in the country. During the 18th and 19th century, African slaves were brought to Belize, forming the language Belizean Creole. All these African languages influenced the language when those African slaves were brought to the country.
In Belize, there are even in the Belizean Creole language itself differences between, for example, people from cities and people from villages, between old and young people. This mainly is because of the gap between the more developed modernized Brazilian Creole language and a still less developed, more ancient language. The authentic Creole language was called the Basselect, which is the most different from the modern-day Source languages, African, English and Spanish. Basselect is still used in Belize by older people and inhabitants of villages. For example, die geil den mi dance. The second variation you can hear in Belize is the super straight, which sounds very much like English. Next to that you have the acrolect. This is a language you mostly hear in cities in Belize. It is a more developed type of Belizean Creole compared to the Basselect, and it sounds very much like modern-day English. The girls were dancing. For example, die girls were dancing. Finally you have the Messelect, which is a mix between the super straight and the acrolect. Die geils den mi dancen.
The Belizean Creole, which is taught in school, is based on British English. There are some words which are used a lot in the Belizean Creole language. For example, uman, which means female, unu, meaning you all in second person plural, no, meaning any or no amount, and di, which means the. Some other typical Belizean Creole words are kpata kpata, which means completely, kushe, which means hello or hi, picken, which means child, lef, which means stop, dia, which means expensive. These words in Creole are very different compared to those in British English, so it is easy to distinguish between the two. Examples of sayings in Creole are "You dey fly past your nest" or "You only dey one little baby." The first means you're going too far from what you know and you're bound to get in trouble, and the second means that you never did anything right as a child. In general, it can be said that words in Creole are spelled as they sound. However, there are some simple rules which someone literate in English needs to know in order not to get confused when studying Creole. What English does is that it uses silent consonants, while Creole simply eliminates these in their writing. For example, the B in climb and the G in sign. It is important when studying Creole to know how the words are pronounced, to make sure that you sound like a typical Creole speaker. One thing you will notice is that the letter combinations CH, SH, and ZH are included in the list of Belize Creole consonants. The Creole writer should be careful to consider which sound is used in the Creole word and how it differs from the English spelling. The vowels used in Belize Creole are somewhat different from the vowels used in English. Writing vowels in Belize Creole is related to English, but it has been simplified. Creole has 4 kinds of vowels: long, short, glides, and nasalized. Long vowels have the sound that is like the name of the letter. For example, the vowel sound in lead is the same as the name of the letter E. Compare this to the vowel sound in bed. The vowel sound is not the same as the name of the letter E. It is a short E. The vowel sound in bed is called a short vowel. They sound a little different than the name of the letter. Vowel glides, sometimes called diphthongs, refers to 2 adjacent vowel sounds occurring with the same syllable, such as the sounds in out and beer. Nasalized vowels are vowels in which the sound comes more through the nose than the mouth. In Creole, these vowels are marked by writing HN after the vowel.